Jake Martinez walked through the broken city. Smoke filled the air. Buildings lay in pieces around him. The war had come to New Geneva Colony 3 days ago. Now everything was quiet. Too quiet. Jake was a staff sergeant in the Earth Defense Force. He had been fighting the aliens for 3 years. The aliens called themselves Zephyrians. They looked like giant lizards that walked on 2 legs. They had ships that could destroy whole cities. They had weapons that could cut through metal like paper. Sergeant Martinez called Corporal Ben Hayes. "We found something over here." Jake turned toward Ben's voice. Ben stood next to a crashed alien ship. The ship was black and silver. It had strange writing on the side. Smoke came from a big hole in its front. "What did you find?" Jake asked. "The ship is mostly empty," Ben said, "but there might be survivors inside." "Should we check?" Jake looked at the ship. His orders were clear. Find any living aliens and kill them. The aliens had killed thousands of humans. They showed no mercy. Why should humans show mercy to them? But Jake was a good soldier. He always followed orders. He would check the ship first. "Lisa, watch our backs," Jake said to Private Lisa Chen. She was the youngest member of their team. She was also the best shot Jake had ever seen. Lisa nodded and raised her rifle. She looked around for any signs of danger. Jake and Ben walked to the ship. The door was torn open. Jake looked inside. The ship was dark. He turned on his flashlight. The light showed broken metal and strange alien equipment. They moved deeper into the ship. Jake saw dead aliens in pilot seats. Their green blood was everywhere. The crash had killed them instantly. "Nothing here," Ben said. "Let's go." Jake was about to agree when he heard something. A small sound, like crying. "Wait," Jake said. "Did you hear that?" Ben stopped. They both listened. The sound came again. It was definitely crying. Jake followed the sound. It led him to a storage room at the back of the ship. He pushed open the door. His flashlight showed boxes and containers. And in the corner something moved. Jake stepped closer. His light fell on a small alien child. The child was tiny, no bigger than a human baby. It had silver scales that shined in the light. Its eyes were golden and very large. Those eyes looked at Jake with pure fear. The child was hurt. Jake could see cuts on its arms and legs. Green blood stained its small clothes. The child shook with fear and cold. "Ben," Jake called softly. "Come here." Ben came into the room. When he saw the child, he raised his weapon. "It's just a baby," Jake said quickly. "It's an alien," Ben replied. "Orders are orders." Jake looked at the child again. It was so small, so scared. It reminded him of his sister's daughter back on Earth. How could he hurt something so helpless? "Look at it, Ben, it's just a kid." "Kids grow up to be adults," Ben said. "Adults that kill humans." The alien child made a soft sound. It reached out one small hand toward Jake. Jake saw that the child had a mark on its forehead. The mark looked like a star. Jake made a decision. He put his weapon away. He reached out slowly toward the child. The child pulled back at first. But when Jake did not move to hurt it, the child stayed still. Jake touched the child's hand gently. "It's okay," Jake said softly. "I won't hurt you." The child did not understand his words, but it seemed to understand his gentle voice. The child stopped shaking so much. "Sergeant, what are you doing?" Ben asked. "I don't know," Jake said honestly. "But I can't kill a baby. I just can't." Jake looked around the storage room. He found a small blanket. He wrapped it around the child. The child let him do it. "We have to report this," Ben said. "Report what?" Jake asked. "That we found nothing." "You want to lie?" Jake picked up the child carefully. It was lighter than he expected. The child looked up at him with those big golden eyes. "I want to think," Jake said. "Give me time to think," Ben shook his head. "This is wrong, Sergeant." "Maybe," Jake said. "But killing babies is more wrong." They left the ship. Lisa was waiting outside. "Find anything?" she asked. Jake looked at Ben. Ben looked angry, but he did not say anything. "Nothing important," Jake said. Lisa looked at Jake strangely. She could tell something was different, but she did not ask questions. Jake hid the alien child in his backpack. The child was so small it fit easily. He made sure it could breathe. He gave it some of his water. The child drank the water gratefully. It looked at Jake like he was the most important person in the world. As they walked back to base, Jake knew his life had changed. He was now protecting the enemy. He was breaking every rule he had sworn to follow. But when he looked at the child's trusting eyes, he knew he could not do anything else. The child had lost everything in the war. Its family was probably dead. Its home was destroyed. All it had now was Jake. Jake would not let it down. No matter what happened, he would keep this child safe, even if it cost him his life. 2 weeks passed since Jake found the alien child. He named her Star because of the mark on her forehead. Keeping Star hidden was the hardest thing Jake had ever done. Every morning, Jake woke up before anyone else. He would feed Star small pieces of his food. He gave her water from his bottle. He cleaned her wounds with his medical kit. Star was getting better, but she was still very weak. Star learned quickly. She watched everything Jake did. When he spoke to her, she listened carefully. Soon she began to copy some of his words. Jake, she would say in her small voice. It was the first human word she learned. Jake taught her to be very quiet when other soldiers were near. Star understood the danger. She would hide in Jake's backpack without making any sound. She trusted Jake completely. The army was moving toward the alien home planet. Every day they traveled on big ships through space. Jake's unit was part of the invasion force. They would attack the alien world in a few weeks. During the day, Jake acted like a normal soldier. He followed orders. He trained with his weapons. He talked with other soldiers about the war. But every free moment he had, he spent with Star. Star was very smart. She drew pictures on paper Jake gave her. The pictures showed things from her life before the war. She drew big buildings with tall towers. She drew aliens wearing beautiful clothes. She drew a large female alien with a crown on her head. When Star drew the female alien, she would point to it and say something in her language. Jake thought the word meant mother or mama. The female alien in the picture looked important. She wore jewels and fine clothes. Jake began to worry. What if Star was not just any alien child? What if she was from an important family? What if she was from the royal family? Jake studied Star's clothes more carefully. They were made from expensive material. They had small jewels sewn into them. Star also wore a small device on her wrist. The device looked very advanced. Only rich aliens could afford such things. Star, Jake said one day. Who is your mama? Star looked at the picture she had drawn. She pointed to the crowned female alien. Then she pointed to herself. She said something in her language that sounded proud. Jake's heart sank. Star was definitely from an important family, maybe even the royal family. If other soldiers found out, they would want to use Star as a prisoner. They would use her to hurt her family. Jake could not let that happen. Ben Hayes still did not like Jake's secret, but he had not told anyone about Star. Ben watched Jake carefully every day. He saw how gentle Jake was with the alien child. He saw how Star trusted Jake. You're getting too attached, Ben told Jake one evening. She's just a kid, Jake replied. She's the enemy, Ben said, but his voice was not as hard as before. Lisa Chen was getting suspicious. She noticed that Jake was acting differently. He was more careful about his backpack. He used more water than normal. He saved extra food from his meals. One night, Lisa confronted Jake. I know you're hiding something, she said. What is it? Jake looked at Lisa. She was a good soldier and a good friend. Maybe he could trust her. Promise me you won't tell anyone, Jake said. That depends on what it is, Lisa replied. Jake made a decision. He opened his backpack carefully. Star was sleeping inside. Her small chest moved up and down as she breathed. She looked peaceful and innocent. Lisa's mouth fell open. Is that an alien child, Jake said. I found her in that crashed ship. She was hurt and scared. I couldn't leave her there. Lisa stared at Star for a long moment. She's so small. Her name is Star, Jake said. She's very smart. She's learning English. As if she heard her name, Star opened her golden eyes. She looked at Lisa with curiosity, not fear. Hello, Star, Lisa said softly. Star smiled. It was the first time Jake had seen her smile. It made his heart warm. She's beautiful, Lisa said. But Jake, this is dangerous. If Command finds out, I know, Jake said, but I can't abandon her. She has no one else. Lisa was quiet for a while. She watched Star play with a small toy Jake had made for her. Okay, Lisa said finally. I'll help you. Really? Really? But we have to be very careful. From that day on, Lisa helped Jake take care of Star. When Jake was busy with duties, Lisa would watch Star. She brought extra food and water. She helped make Star's hiding place more comfortable. Star began to trust Lisa too. She would say Lisa and smile when she saw her, but Star got sick during the 3rd week. She had a fever and coughed badly. Jake was very worried. He did not know anything about alien medicine. Jake knew he had to take a risk. He went to Dr. Amy Foster, the unit's medical officer. "Doctor," Jake said, "I need information about alien biology. For intelligence purposes." Dr. Foster looked at him strangely. "What kind of information?" "How to treat alien sickness," Jake said. "What medicines work on them?" Dr. Foster was smart. She could tell Jake was not telling the whole truth. But she had known Jake for 2 years. She trusted him. "This is for intelligence work?" she asked. "Yes," Jake lied. Dr. Foster gave him the information he needed. She also gave him some medicine that would be safe for aliens. "Be careful with that medicine," she said. "Use very small amounts." Jake thanked her and left quickly. The medicine worked. Star's fever went down. Her cough got better. But Dr. Foster now suspected something. She watched Jake more carefully. Star continued to grow stronger. She also continued to learn. She could now say many English words. She understood simple sentences. One day, Star drew a new picture. This picture showed the alien home planet. She pointed to it and said, "Home" in English. Jake looked at the picture. Soon the human army would attack that world. They would try to destroy everything on it, including Star's home and family. Jake realized he had a terrible choice to make. Should he keep Star safe with him? Or should he try to return her to her family before the attack? He looked at Star's trusting face. She had no idea what was coming. She just knew that Jake would protect her. Jake made a promise to himself. Whatever happened, he would do what was best for Star. Even if it meant breaking every rule. Even if it meant giving up his own life. Star was no longer just an alien enemy to him. She was the child he had chosen to protect, and he would never let her down. The human fleet finally reached the alien home planet. Jake stood on the ship's observation deck and looked down at the world below. It was beautiful. The planet had blue oceans and green continents. It looked almost like Earth. "All soldiers report to Briefing Room 7, announced the ship's speaker system. Jake felt his stomach tighten. Star was hidden in his room. She was getting better at staying quiet, but briefings were dangerous. Too many people in one place. Jake made sure Star had water and food. He told her to stay hidden until he came back. Star nodded and gave him a small hug. She had learned to hug from watching humans. The briefing room was full of soldiers. Jake found a seat next to Ben and Lisa. Colonel Martin Price stood at the front of the room. Behind him was a large screen showing the alien planet. "Listen up," Colonel Price said. "Today we will attack the enemy capital city. Our main target is the Royal Palace." Jake's blood turned cold. The Royal Palace. Star's drawings flashed through his mind. The big buildings with tall towers. The female alien with the crown. "Intelligence reports that the alien queen lives in this palace," the colonel continued. "She has been leading the war against humanity. We believe she is the reason this war started." A new image appeared on the screen. It showed a tall alien female with purple scales and a crown made of crystals. She looked angry and dangerous in the picture. Jake stared at the image. Something about the alien queen looked familiar. The shape of her face, the way she held her head, the golden eyes. "The queen lost her family in an attack 3 years ago," Colonel Price explained. "That attack made her very angry. She decided to destroy all humans because of it. Taking the palace will end this war." Jake's mind raced. 3 years ago. That was when the war started. Star was about 3 years old. The timing matched perfectly. "What happened to the Queen's family?" asked Captain Alex Rodriguez. "They were killed in a transport ship attack," the colonel replied. "The Queen's daughter was on board. Intelligence says there were no survivors." Jake felt like the room was spinning. Star was on a transport ship when he found her. She was the only survivor. She was the Queen's daughter. "Sir," said Lieutenant Carlos Stone, "what do we know about the Queen's daughter?" Colonel Price looked at his notes. "She was very young. She had special markings that showed her royal blood. A star-shaped mark on her forehead, according to our sources." Jake's hands began to shake. Star's mark. The star-shaped mark that gave her her name. It was not just a birthmark. It was proof that she was the alien Queen's daughter. "The attack that killed the royal family happened by accident," Colonel Price continued. "A rogue human group attacked the ship without orders. They thought it was a military target. The attack made the Queen blame all humans for her loss. Jake felt sick. The war that had killed thousands of people started because of a mistake. The Queen thought humans had murdered her daughter on purpose. But Star was alive. She was safe. She was in Jake's room right now. Questions? Asked Colonel Price. Jake wanted to raise his hand. He wanted to tell everyone that the Queen's daughter was alive, that the war could end if they returned Star to her mother. But he stayed quiet. Speaking up would mean admitting he had hidden an alien for weeks. It would mean court-martial and prison. The briefing ended. Soldiers filed out of the room talking about the attack plans. Jake sat still in his chair. His mind was full of terrible thoughts. Ben noticed Jake's pale face. "You okay, Sergeant?" "I'm fine," Jake lied. Lisa looked worried too. "You look sick." "Just nervous about the battle," Jake said. Jake left the briefing room and walked quickly back to his quarters. He needed to see Star. He needed to think about what to do. Star was playing with her toy when Jake entered the room. She looked up and smiled when she saw him. "Jake," she said happily. She had learned to pronounce his name correctly. Jake sat down next to her. He looked at the star mark on her forehead. How had he been so blind? All the signs were there. Her expensive clothes, her royal bearing, her intelligence. The pictures she drew of palaces and crowned figures. "Star," Jake said carefully. "Tell me about your mama." Star's eyes lit up. She grabbed her drawing paper and quickly drew the alien queen again. This time she drew more details. The crown, the royal robes, the stern but loving expression. "Mama Queen," Star said proudly in her mixed language. "Mama strong. Mama loves Star." Jake's heart broke. Star missed her mother terribly. She had no idea that her mother thought she was dead. She had no idea that her mother was fighting a war to avenge her death. "Star," Jake said, "do you want to go home?" Star nodded eagerly. "Home, see, Mama?" "See, Palace." Jake looked out the small window. Below them, the alien homeworld waited. In a few hours, human soldiers would attack the royal palace. They would try to capture or kill Star's mother. The Queen would fight them, believing her daughter was dead and that humans were her enemies. But Star was alive. Star was right here. She could end the war just by walking into that palace and calling for her mother. Jake thought about his options. He could keep Star hidden during the battle. He could protect her and take her away from here. But that would mean letting thousands of people die in a war that did not need to happen. Or he could try to return Star to her mother. But that would mean disobeying direct orders. It would mean stealing a ship and flying into a battle zone. It would probably mean his death. Jake looked at Star again. She was drawing another picture. This one showed Jake and herself standing together. In the picture, they were both smiling. "Jake good," Star said, pointing to the drawing. Jake saved Star. Jake realized that Star trusted him completely. She believed he would always do what was best for her. She had no idea how complicated things really were. There was a knock at Jake's door. He quickly hid Star under his blankets. "Come in," Jake called. Dr. Foster entered the room. She looked around suspiciously. "Sergeant Martinez," she said. "I need to ask you something." "What is it, doctor?" "That medicine I gave you. It's missing from my supplies. More medicine than you should have needed for intelligence work." Jake's mouth went dry. "I don't know what you mean." Dr. Foster stepped closer. "I also noticed you've been using a lot of medical supplies. Bandages, antiseptic, pain medication. Care to explain?" Jake could not think of a good lie. Dr. Foster was too smart. She had figured out his secret. "I know you're hiding something," Dr. Foster said. "Something that needs medical care. Something small based on the amount of medicine you've used." Star moved under the blankets. The movement was small, but Dr. Foster saw it. "Is someone hurt?" Dr. Foster asked gently. Jake made another difficult decision. Dr. Foster was a doctor. Her job was to help people who were hurt. Maybe she would understand. "Promise me you won't tell anyone," Jake said. "I promise to do what's best for my patient," Dr. Foster replied. Jake pulled back the blankets. Star looked up at Dr. Foster with wide golden eyes. Dr. Foster gasped. My God, she's beautiful. Star was not afraid. She had learned that most humans were kind like Jake and Lisa. "Hello," Star said to Dr. Foster. "Hello, sweetheart," Dr. Foster replied softly. "Are you feeling better?" Star nodded and smiled. Dr. Foster looked at Jake. "How long have you been caring for her?" 3 weeks, Jake admitted. "She looks healthy now. You did a good job taking care of her." "Thank you," Jake said. Dr. Foster examined Star gently. Star let her do it, trusting that anyone Jake trusted was safe. She's in perfect health, Dr. Foster announced. But Jake, you know what this means. She's not just any alien child. I know, Jake said quietly. I know exactly who she is. Dr. Foster stared at him. You figured it out? She's the Queen's daughter. The one everyone thinks is dead. Dr. Foster sat down heavily. This changes everything. I know, Jake said again. But I don't know what to do about it. Star looked back and forth between the adults. She could tell they were talking about something serious. She reached out and took Jake's hand. Jake sad? She asked. Jake squeezed her small hand. Jake is worried about Star. Star's safe with Jake, she said confidently. Jake looked at Dr. Foster. What would you do? Dr. Foster thought for a long moment. I became a doctor to save lives. Keeping this secret means more people will die, but breaking this secret might mean Star dies. So what do? We find a third option, Dr. Foster said. We find a way to save everyone. Jake nodded. But deep down, he knew there might not be a way to save everyone. Soon he would have to choose between saving Star and saving thousands of others. And he had no idea what choice was right. The attack on the alien planet began at dawn. Jake watched from his room as human ships filled the sky. Explosions lit up the alien capital city below. The war had come to the Queen's homeworld. Jake held Star in his arms. She was scared by the loud noises and bright flashes. She did not understand why there was fighting. Jake, Star said quietly. What happening? Jake did not know how to explain war to a child. Bad things, he said simply. But Jake will keep Star safe. Dr. Foster entered the room quickly. She had been thinking all night about their problem. Jake, I have an idea, she said, but it's very dangerous. Tell me, Jake said. You could take Star to the palace. Return her to her mother. Show the Queen that her daughter is alive. Jake had been thinking the same thing. That's desertion. I would be leaving my unit during battle. Yes, Dr. Foster said. You could go to prison. Or you could die. But you might also end this war. Star looked back and forth between them. She understood some of their words now. Palace? Star asked excitedly. See, Mama? Jake's heart ached. Star wanted to go home so badly. She missed her mother. She had no idea her mother was in danger right now. How would I get there? Jake asked Dr. Foster. There are small scout ships in the hangar. You could take one. That's stealing. Yes, Dr. Foster agreed. It is. Jake thought about all the people fighting and dying outside. Human soldiers and alien soldiers, all because of a misunderstanding. All because the Queen thought her daughter was dead. If I do this, Jake said, will you cover for me? For as long as I can, Dr. Foster promised. Jake made his decision. He would take Star home. He would face whatever punishment came after. Okay, Jake said. Let's do it. Dr. Foster helped Jake pack supplies. She gave him medicine and food. She also gave him a white flag. Wave this when you get to the palace, she said. It means you come in peace. Jake put Star in a carrying bag designed for small equipment. She fit perfectly and she could breathe easily. Star thought it was a game. Going on adventure? Star asked. Yes, Jake said. We're going to see your mama. Star clapped her hands happily. Jake and Dr. Foster made their way to the ship's hangar. Most of the crew was busy with the battle. The hangar was almost empty. Jake found a small scout ship. It was designed for one pilot, but there was room for Star. The ship was fast and had good shields. Good luck, Dr. Foster said. She hugged Jake quickly. Take care of yourself, Doc, Jake replied. Jake climbed into the ship with Star. He started the engines. The ship lifted off smoothly. Alert, said the ship's computer. Unauthorized launch detected. Jake knew he had only minutes before security noticed he was gone. He pushed the ship's engines to maximum speed. Star looked out the window as they flew toward the planet. Her eyes were wide with excitement. Pretty, she said, pointing at the alien city below. The city was beautiful, even with the battle raging. Tall silver buildings reached toward the sky. Gardens and parks filled the spaces between buildings. But explosions were happening everywhere. Human ships attacked alien buildings. Alien ships fired back. Jake's radio crackled to life. Scout Ship 7 returned to base immediately. The voice belonged to Captain Rodriguez. Jake turned off the radio. He could not go back now. The palace appeared ahead of them. It was enormous. Crystal towers rose high into the air. The walls were made of white stone that seemed to glow. It was the most beautiful building Jake had ever seen, but the palace was under attack. Human bombers were dropping explosives on the outer walls. Alien fighters were defending the building. "Home," Star said excitedly when she saw the palace. Jake flew the ship between the fighting aircraft. Laser beams flashed around them. An explosion rocked their ship. "Warning," said the ship's computer. "Hull damage detected." Jake fought to control the ship. They were losing power. He aimed for the palace courtyard. It was their only chance to land safely. The ship crashed hard into the courtyard's stone floor. Jake's head hit the controls. Blood ran down his face, but Star was safe in her protective bag. "Jake hurt?" Star asked with worry. "Jake is okay," he said, though his head was spinning. Jake grabbed the white flag Dr. Foster had given him. He picked up Star and climbed out of the broken ship. The palace courtyard was full of alien soldiers. They all pointed weapons at Jake. Their scales were different colors: red, blue, green, purple. They wore armor that looked like it was made of metal and crystal. The alien soldiers shouted at Jake in their language. They sounded very angry. Jake raised the white flag high above his head. "I come in peace," he shouted. The aliens did not understand English. They kept their weapons pointed at him. Star looked around the courtyard. Her eyes filled with tears of joy. "Home," she cried. She said something in the alien language. Her voice was loud and clear. The alien soldiers stopped shouting. They stared at Star in shock. One of them dropped his weapon. Star said something else in her language. This time she sounded royal and commanding, even though she was just a small child. The alien soldiers began to kneel. They lowered their weapons and bowed their heads. "Star," one of them said in amazement. Star nodded and smiled. She said something that sounded like, "Yes, it's me." Large doors opened at the front of the palace. More aliens came running out. These aliens wore fancier clothes. They looked like servants and officials. When they saw Star, many of them began to cry. They called out her name in their language. Some of them touched their hearts and looked up at the sky. Star was getting excited. She bounced in Jake's arms and pointed at the palace doors. "Mama," she called loudly. "Mama, Star home." A new figure appeared in the doorway. This alien was much larger than the others. She was 7 feet tall with deep purple scales. She wore a crown made of crystal and metal. Her golden eyes were exactly like Star's. This was the Queen. The Queen looked at Jake with confusion and anger. Why was a human soldier holding a child that looked like her dead daughter? Star saw her mother and started crying with happiness. She reached out her arms toward the Queen. "Mama! Mama!" Star called. The Queen's expression changed from anger to shock to disbelief. She walked slowly toward Jake and Star. Her movements were careful, like she was afraid this was a dream. Star said something in their language. It sounded like she was explaining what had happened. The Queen stopped in front of Jake. She stared at Star for a long moment. Then she said one word in English. "Impossible." Star reached out and touched her mother's face. The Queen's eyes filled with tears. Jake gently set Star down. The little girl ran to her mother. The Queen knelt down and gathered Star into her arms. For a moment, there was no war. There were no enemies. There was just a mother holding her child that she had thought was dead. The Queen spoke to Star in their language. Star answered quickly, pointing at Jake many times. The Queen looked up at Jake. Her golden eyes were full of tears. "You," she said in English. "You saved my daughter." Jake nodded. "She was hurt. I took care of her." The Queen stood up, still holding Star. She was much taller than Jake. She could have ordered her soldiers to kill him instantly. Instead, she said 2 words that changed everything. "Thank you." Star looked between her mother and Jake. She took her mother's hand and Jake's hand. She put them together. "Mama, Jake good," Star said in her mix of languages. "Jake saved Star. Jake loves Star." The Queen looked at Jake with new eyes. This human soldier had risked everything to bring her daughter home. He could have used Star as a prisoner. He could have hurt her. Instead, he had protected her and loved her. "Why?" the Queen asked Jake. "Why did you save her?" Jake thought about all the complicated reasons. The politics, the war, the moral choices. But in the end, the answer was simple. "Because she needed help," Jake said. "And because she's just a child." The Queen cried then. Real tears ran down her scaled cheeks. In 3 years of war, she had never cried. But this human simple kindness broke through all her anger and pain. Star wiped away her mother's tears. No sad, Mama. Star safe, Jake safe. All good now. The Queen looked around at the battle still raging beyond the palace walls. So many of her people were dying. So many humans were dying, all because of a misunderstanding. She made a decision that would change history. Stop the fighting, she commanded her soldiers in their language. Then she looked at Jake. Help me end this war, she said. The Queen held Star close to her chest and cried. Her tears were silver like liquid starlight. They fell onto the stone floor of the courtyard and sparkled in the light. The alien soldiers had never seen their queen cry before. In their culture, crying was something only the weak did. Queens were supposed to be strong and fierce, but their queen was crying tears of pure joy. Star reached up and touched her mother's face. Mama happy now? Yes, little Star, the Queen said in English. Her voice was soft and full of love. Mama is very happy now. Jake stood quietly nearby. He was ready to accept whatever happened next. He had returned Star to her family. That was all that mattered to him. The Queen looked at Jake while still holding Star. She spoke to him in careful English. You are soldier, she said.
I am your enemy.
Why you save my child? Jake thought about her question. Because she was scared and hurt. Because no child should suffer in war. You could have used her against me, the Queen said. You could have made her a prisoner. I thought about that, Jake admitted. But I couldn't hurt her. She trusted me. Star looked between her mother and Jake. She could tell they were talking about important things. Jake, good mama, Star said to the Queen in their mixed language. Jake feeds Star, Jake makes Star feel safe. Jake loves Star like family. The Queen's eyes filled with fresh tears. This human soldier had done more than save her daughter's life. He had loved her and cared for her like his own child. What is your name, soldier? The Queen asked. Jake Martinez, he replied. Jake Martinez, the Queen repeated slowly. I will remember this name forever. The sound of explosions continued around the palace. The war was still happening. People were still dying. The Queen spoke quickly to one of her soldiers in their language. The soldier ran into the palace. I have ordered my armies to stop fighting, the Queen told Jake, but your people will not stop unless your leaders tell them to. Jake nodded. I can try to contact my commanding officer. Do this, the Queen said. Tell them the Queen wants to talk peace. Jake activated his communication device. It had been damaged in the crash, but it still worked. This is Sergeant Martinez, he said into the device. Martinez, came Captain Rodriguez's angry voice. Where are you? You're under arrest for desertion. Captain, listen to me, Jake said quickly. I'm at the alien palace. I have the Queen's daughter with me. The Queen wants to discuss peace. There was silence on the radio for a long moment. Say that again, Captain Rodriguez said. The Queen's daughter is alive, sir. I've been protecting her for 3 weeks. The Queen thought she was dead. That's why the war started. But she's alive and safe. That's impossible, Captain Rodriguez said. Intelligence confirmed the royal family was killed. Star took the communication device from Jake. She spoke into it in clear English. Hello? I am Star. I am Queen's daughter. Jake, save me. Please stop fighting. Another long silence on the radio. Dear God, Captain Rodriguez whispered. It's true, sir, Jake said, taking back the device. The Queen wants to end the war. She knows it started because of a misunderstanding. Stand by, Martinez, Captain Rodriguez said. I'm contacting command. While they waited, the Queen sat down on the palace steps. She kept Star on her lap. Star was talking rapidly in their language, telling her mother about all her adventures with Jake. She says you taught her English, the Queen told Jake. She says you shared your food with her every day. She says you sang to her when she was scared. Jake felt embarrassed. I just did what anyone would do. No, the Queen said firmly. You did what a good person would do. Many soldiers would not have shown mercy. Dr. Foster's voice came through Jake's communication device. Jake, are you alive? I'm alive, Doc, Jake replied. Star's with her mother. Thank God, Dr. Foster said. Command is going crazy here. They want to talk to the Queen directly. The Queen took the communication device. This is the Queen of Zephyrus, she said with royal authority. I speak for my people. Your Majesty, came Colonel Price's voice. This is Colonel Price of the Earth Defense Force. We need to verify your daughter's identity. Star grabbed the device again. I am Princess Star. I have star mark on forehead. I draw pictures. I miss Mama very much. Please stop boom boom sounds. Colonel Price was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, softer. Princess Star, he said. Are you hurt? Are you safe? I am very safe, Star said proudly. Jake, protect me. Jake is best human friend. We're calling for an immediate ceasefire, Colonel Price announced. All units stop fighting immediately. Within minutes, the explosions stopped. The laser fire ended, and strange quiet fell over the battlefield. The Queen stood up with Star still in her arms. She walked to Jake and put her free hand on his shoulder. Sergeant Jake Martinez, she said formally, you have done something no weapon could do. You have ended a war with kindness. I just wanted to keep Star safe, Jake said. And in keeping her safe, you kept both our peoples safe, the Queen replied. Star wiggled in her mother's arms. Mama, Jake stay with us? Jake live in palace? The Queen looked surprised. You want Jake to stay? Yes, Star said happily. Jake is Star's family now too. The Queen considered this. Jake, you saved my daughter's life. You cared for her when she had no one. In our culture, this makes you family. You will always be welcome in our home. Jake felt overwhelmed. Thank you, Your Majesty. But I have duties to my own people. Of course, the Queen said, but know that you will always have a place here. Captain Rodriguez arrived at the palace with a small group of human officers. They came without weapons, carrying white flags. When Captain Rodriguez saw Jake with the Queen and Star, he shook his head in amazement. Martinez, you crazy fool, he said. You actually did it. Did what, sir? You ended the war. The Queen stepped forward to meet the human officers. Star stayed close to her side but waved at the humans. Hello, Star called out cheerfully. I am Princess Star. Nice to meet you. Captain Rodriguez smiled despite himself. Hello, Princess Star. It's nice to meet you too. The Queen began to speak formally to the human officers. 3 years ago, I thought you had murdered my family, she said. I was wrong. I let grief and anger make me do terrible things. Many people died because of my mistake. Your Majesty, Captain Rodriguez said, we are sorry for your loss. The attack on your family's ship was not authorized. It was done by criminals, not by Earth's government. I understand that now, the Queen said, but understanding comes too late for those who have already died. Star looked sad when she heard talk about people dying. She tugged on her mother's robes. Mama, can we make everyone happy again? Star asked. The Queen looked down at her daughter. What do you mean, little Star? Can we make the sad people not sad anymore? Can we help the hurt people feel better? The Queen's eyes filled with tears again. Her daughter, even after everything she had been through, wanted to help others. Yes, the Queen said. We will try to help everyone. She looked at the human officers. My daughter is right. We must work together to heal the damage this war has caused. Over the next few hours, the Queen and Human Command worked out the basic terms of peace. Both sides would stop all fighting immediately. They would share resources to help rebuild damaged worlds. They would work together to prevent future wars. But the most important agreement was simpler than any treaty. It was the promise that humans and aliens would try to understand each other instead of fighting each other. Star played a big part in the peace talks. She would translate when adults used complicated words. She would ask innocent questions that made everyone think differently about problems. Why do humans and Zephyrians fight? She asked during one meeting. We both have families. We both love our children. We both want to be happy. No one had a good answer for that question. As the sun set over the alien capital, Jake sat in the palace gardens with Star. She was showing him the flowers that grew on her home world. Jake, Star said quietly, are you happy? Yes, Jake said. I'm very happy that you're home with your mama. But Jake sad too? Jake was surprised by how well Star could read his feelings. A little sad, he admitted. Why Jake sad? Because I'll miss you when I go back to my ship, Jake said. Star thought about this seriously. Jake can visit Star? Maybe, Jake said. If your mama says it's okay, Mama will say yes, Star said confidently. Mama loves Jake now too. The Queen approached them in the garden. She had changed from her battle armor into beautiful royal robes. Jake, she said, my advisors tell me you will face punishment from your military for leaving your unit. Yes, Your Majesty, Jake said. Probably court-martial. This is not acceptable, the Queen declared. You are a hero, not a criminal. I broke military law, Jake said simply. You saved my daughter and ended a war, the Queen replied. I will speak to your leaders about this. True to her word, the Queen contacted Earth's government directly. She told them that Jake was under her personal protection. She said he had acted as an ambassador of peace, not as a deserter. The Earth government, grateful for the end of the war, agreed to pardon Jake for his actions. Instead of court-martial, he received the highest military honor for bravery and service, but Jake's greatest reward was simpler. It was Star's happy laughter as she played in her mother's garden. It was the Queen's grateful tears. It was the knowledge that millions of people would live because he had chosen Compassio.